All right, guys, we are live. Welcome back. This is Let's Hash It Out, episode 10. I actually went back and changed the one from last week from episode 8 to 8 plus 1. So, anyway, this is episode 10. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you here. Few things going on, but I'm interested to see where this is going to go. I have also posted a tweet, if you will, on X. So if anyone out there would like to join in on a conversation, please do so. The link is out there at BlindDave2 on X, formerly Twitter. So join in if you got some input on anything. So anyway, what's up, guys? Welcome back.
Happy Thursday.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Almost Friday.
Day.
Great
Day
to
before
talk and
Friday.
hear of you all, man.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, good to hear you.
any disclaimers that you wanted to
Well,
as a disclaimer, I would just say please listen to what is said before you try to place judgment or different things overtake your better judgment. So please go back and listen to it before running and trying to be a tattletale.
yeah, the only thing as a disclaimer I would want to bring in is that whatever we say, not just me, but we all, is we don't want to attack people individually, but more the processes behind the scenes in certain projects or just globally that pique our interest. And we think it's our civil duty wherever we are on Earth to at least be curious and inquisitive. So I think that's the spirit with which people should take us. And obviously, at the end of the day, we would like to make some money of it too, and make sure that we position ourselves outside of a system that at any whim could potentially, well, take our value away from us. So at least that's what it sums up for me, and I think some of you will probably either partly or in full relate to that. So yeah, that's it for me. I'm yeah, one other thing. The U.S. debt has risen again, but the debt always rises, so that's not really news, is it? I think
nope.
after June, it's almost 1.8 or even going strongly to 2 additional trillions.
And that's just since it was
Yeah,
it was no debt ceiling in
yeah,
June.
yeah.
I think
So
is
that's in
when
like 2 months,
flying up.
right? So if
What did
if
they
we
get? A
if we
$4 trillion cushion? Isn't that what it was? They said, "Hey, you got $4 trillion up to this date." Isn't that what
yeah.
it was? Up to like,
So
yeah,
if you put it that way, Clint, they're actually
Yeah.
being pretty frugal.
yeah, they're only halfway there. Come on, I got $2 trillion to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, let me
The half
cut
of the
back a
cookie
little
jar is still
bit.
there. Yeah. Well,
You know me.
if it's an M, a
I
B,
have
or a T, who
questions.
cares? You have questions, Javier? I
Does
see
the
you already shaking
G20
your
have
head.
anything? Yeah, does it have anything to do with this? Or can y'all explain what this G20 is all about? I've heard
What's your angle with the
just took,
G20? What do you mean?
you know what? First of all, I would probably need you to explain a little bit of it. And I know that they were meeting. And my question is, because I don't know what the G20 is, I want to know what the G20 is. And so I saw this right before I came on. So I'm kind of have questions. What is a G20 and what's it got to do with my
As far as
pocketbook?
I can tell, the G20 is a conglomerate that of the global top 20 economies that talk to one another for preferably common interest in trade and probably civil rights and geopolitical strategy.
Okay.
So yeah,
Thank you. You just
obviously
answered every
digital.
question. Now I know
Yeah,
everything about
and
it
you also
because
have you also have a G7.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
which would
it's sort of
probably be
like
even bit more
religion. It's
interesting.
just these people with big hats that try to confine you and make rules for
Yeah,
you, even though it doesn't apply to them.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
sort of what,
they all meet up and then they compare clothing.
Yeah.
right.
Well, and that's like I said. That's I catch words, then I go back and do it, or I'll usually take a shortcut and call Dave, and I go, hey, what does G20 mean? Hey, what is because I know
I
that there's an
question.
importance to it. I just don't know. And I once you explain it, yeah, as soon as you mention, oh, it's the top 20 countries, I'm like, oh, they're here for me.
I question
They're here
why
to help
was
me.
Xi Jinping's escort banned from the meeting? Did y'all catch that?
That was from the BRICS, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with that. And you've got him not showing up to the G20.
I,
Isn't he
I, I
not showing up?
haven't I haven't followed that news at all, but for some reason I don't suspect you mean like a Ford Escort.
No.
So
Or a female escort.
or a female escort. Yeah, a Ford
No,
Escort service. That would be phenomenal.
his
Yeah.
advisor was blocked from even entering. It's like Xi Jinping is just walking out, and then
Door
his
slams.
escort was blocked off from following behind him into the, I don't know, G20 meeting.
It was the
So-
BRICS. It was the
So are
BRICS
you
back
saying-
a week or so ago, wasn't it? The BRICS.
Wait,
meeting,
wait.
I think.
Right.
Yeah, BRICS meeting.
It's what
Yeah.
it's what Dave's trying to say. It was a G19 meeting
Mm,
or meeting.
I hear you.
I can hear some crickets on the background there.
Yeah, there are.
It's
crickets.
I think
There are
I think you're
crickets
right
in
though,
the
Javier. But
I have to admit.
yeah,
there
I
are.
can hear those. But
Yeah.
I thought it was
I
pretty
was just
funny.
curious. I
But
mean-
it's just yeah.
This is where my brain goes. I didn't even know what the hell that meant. But when you're saying, well, the door was kind of shut, well, then it may not have been a G20. Maybe.
Let's not make things bigger as they are. Those things
Sure.
are pretty interesting with what they cook up. But usually the agenda has already been determined for a fair few months or years ahead, unless radical things change in the world. We're in a radical area right now, I would say, with China positioning itself with Saudi Arabia and like this whole supply chain dance of fossil fuels around the world. But at the end of the day, I don't see a scenario where the U.S. is losing the reserve currency position anytime soon. Most of the trade is still done in dollars, and if you don't have enough dollars, you can't really, do business. So, I think that the U.S. flooding the market with dollars is still, even though it's kind of running its course, a viable strategy for the U.S. But it's all pretty much a tightrope, right? How much dollars do you print? How much interest rates do you raise? How do you position your economy? And all these things make the whole social cohesion and social economics so fucked up with inflation that many people, us of course included, say, well, we want to opt out. We don't want to get fucked over by the system. We want a better sense of security from a monetary perspective. So we want peer-to-peer transactions without a middleman through a decentralized encrypted network that we can trust and verify. And, that's why we're here, to make sure that we have a chance to actually have social upward mobility and to get fair value for the work that we put in our lives, and not be at the whims of a system that could change at any direction and make us lose our money and basically what we worked for most of our lives.
Right.
And I wish
agree.
more people would wake up to it.
That's it. I want a battery that stores my energy and it doesn't leak. We've got leaky batteries. The US dollars, the Fed notes are leaky. They lose all your energy whenever you hold it in them. They're bad batteries. I don't like bad batteries. I want a strong battery. I want something that's going to hold my energy for as long as I want it
Clint,
to. Yeah.
I think you've got the right idea. Looking to self-sustain as much as you possibly can.
That's important.
By your own food and your own, because I'll tell you this.
Grow your own, be able
I'm
to grow
okay
your
right
own, be
now,
able to store it,
But at the store, I feel it. I mean, and it's not that I can't afford it. I can, but
how long?
I think it
you
feels
gotta keep
like
doing
right
this.
now, maybe what I used to buy with $20 is now taking $40 to $50 for me to do that. When I go to lunch, did a quick lunch at a just kind of Chinese place I went to, all of a sudden, $35, $40. What used to be Chinese food, one of the cheap, I don't know, $8, $7 in Florida.
Yeah, you go to the buffet,
now
you eat all
just,
you want. It's under $10. You get the drink and everything. And I mean, it's just like, eat all you want.
It's to see that, and I don't know if y'all are seeing it in your part of the United States, and you are in the Netherlands too. But like today, I take my dog for a walk. There's a recreation center right by my home, and obviously there's a new homeless person because he brought all his furniture, everything, set it up at a racquetball court shape. And then later on, when I passed by again, the cops were there saying, dude, you can't, obviously he took everything with you. Once the homeless realized you're homeless, whatever fits in the backpack, and that's it. You're not going to carry I understand he still sees the value in his sofas and everything else, but you've got to break down to what is truly necessary.
Right.
Because the cops came
seeds
and said,
and
hey,
crypto, man. If you're going to go full, just out there, or vagrant, migrant, whatever you want to call it, world traveler, take some heirloom seeds and some crypto and you're good, man. I mean, seriously, think about it. Just go somewhere else.
If I went there, I would have some easy washing shorts because I'm here in Florida. That winter coat doesn't go in that backpack. You're going to be carrying a backpack, whatever fits in there. So you need 2 or 3 shorts and 2 or 3 shirts and some underwear, sandals, maybe 2 pair, and food or rope or string or even a tarp. And that's it. And I'm sorry for those people, but I'm starting to see that same community that I see in YouTube in New York, in California, where everybody's taking over. The problem here, it's easy here, and there's so much vegetation that people go right into these little places that are overgrown. They carve themselves out a living, and they actually survive there. They are living out of the dumpsters. I've seen it, and they come up. I fish near a place where there's a dumpster and they throw away food, and people come up and they go, it's still fresh. The milk is still cold. It's not expired. Blah, blah. They actually have their own community, and I'm not saying that's right, wrong, or other ways,
guy that's new
but
to
it
homeless, this guy that's new to being homeless, he's a sitting duck, really. He's got all of his possessions and belongings here, and he's just a moment until he gets bumped over the head, and they take everything he's worth. Because if you think it's tough living, day to day in a house or apartment or whatever, imagine living on the street. Everything you got is open to anyone to just walk up and take it.
Yep, law of the jungle.
Well, and the sad part is he's so new to homeless that he doesn't know he's got a target on his back, because a person with experience has already gone through that, lost all of his wealth, and realized, I need these essentials and only these essentials. I can't take all this. I can't take my bed, my setup, like a freaking living room.
Imagine. Imagine if we would have been able to penetrate that blockade years ago, right? Where this guy could have found a little bit of crypto, and it could have possibly changed his life just like it has ours. And
life changing, sure.
Right. And it happens over time. Rome was not built in a day.
No.
So, it's time in the market, not timing the market. So, and I don't do anything on leverage, but it's just, and now where do you go? I said it last week. I'm looking at doing the KYC AML for KuCoin because that's the only place that I can do a limit buy or a limit sell order. Now the trick is you got to leave that amount there on that exchange, and that's your level of risk that you're willing to take. I mean, I don't keep any money on exchanges, but every once in a while I do like to do an order,
Yeah.
you know, just to try
Well,
to
yeah, you might
capitalize on it.
catch the bottom or something. You know, hey, you know, there's a wick that I might be able to grab. You know, by having the order sit out there. You know what I mean? Hey,
Well,
it's worth
now
gambling a little bit.
Gemini is still open for limit buy and limit sell orders, but through it's like Active Trader or something like this, Gemini Active Trader. But you have to request that account.
Okay,
You
it's not
can't
by
just
default.
sign up for Gemini and get it. You can sign up for Gemini, use your Gemini account a little bit, and then you can request the trading account, the Active Trader account.
Okay,
So, but here again, a lot of assets aren't even on there. It's only what they
right.
sell.
Yeah.
So,
Well, get into
And,
Gemini
and,
a little bit. I
and
got
you
some
know,
questions.
Clint, I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Javier.
Are you really gambling if you, I don't know, 10, 15, 20, $100, throw it into
No,
Digibyte, get it into
no.
a wallet? You don't lose until you cash in. So you just forget about it. Say the law comes in and
Yeah.
says, we're going to do this. We're going to throw all that away. We're going to, whatever, have you in jail for those seed phrases. And I don't know, it may be next month, it may be a year, maybe 3 years, maybe 5 years. But you at least hold it because it's not like gambling. You hold it until you decide, okay, I'm going to sell it either at 2 cents, 5 cents, a dollar, or $16. And consider it a wild card. I don't know. And it's easy for me to say skip a meal because I probably should.
I could
But
skip a few.
exactly. If you put that money in, they all have cell phones. All the homeless, don't get me
Well,
wrong.
exactly.
I
You know,
don't
so
know how they pay
that's
for
the
it. They
surprising
all,
thing. They do. They got cell phones, and
so
so
that
and
means you
here,
could have a wallet.
absolutely. And here's an example. St. Louis meetup. Bitcoin Ben had a big meetup. I had the bus at the time, the short bus, and I had a bunch of people on the bus. It was a great time, and we're trying to get to the Airbnb. Where are we staying at? Okay, so I'm going down wrong streets and this and that. And there's a guy at a stoplight. There usually is. There's a guy at a stoplight. He's homeless. Didn't ask for anything. I rolled the window down, just kind of talked to him a little bit while I was waiting, and I handed him a buck with a seed card. I had $1 in my pocket. So I said, here, man, here's $1. I said, here's a Litecoin card, maybe look into that. That might be something that could change your life. This is something that, it's digital money. You heard of Bitcoin, it's just something to do some research on. That's all they got is time. And like you said, most of them have cell phones. I mean, they can get Wi-Fi, next to a restaurant or something. You never know. Maybe something like that. He's like, hey, I'm going to buy a little crypto and learn how to do it. At least get that skill because, at least you're getting some kind of skill. And, that's why I just think it's important to just expose people to that because you think back, when's the first time I heard of crypto? The first time I heard about it, I didn't get into it. Second time, I didn't get into it, but eventually you hear it enough. And look, here I am. It's changed my life. Maybe not financially, but it's changed my life to where I'm willing to educate and I want to share and I want to help other people get into it. And, the financial rewards for the whole thing, the big scheme of things, it's going to happen because we know and we see the game plan. But it's the important thing is just to put that information, that knowledge out there to, just because he's homeless, don't not share crypto with him. That's the people that need it.
Well, we think of the homeless as, I think we all have an old impression of the homeless, which was back then during my time, a long time ago, it would have been probably a less educated person or a person with maybe disability or right now, what we're considering homeless is a guy that had a job that probably over leveraged himself because he was given the credit to over leverage himself. Now, all of a sudden, things got tight. He lost his job. He lost his wife. He's down in the dumps. It's not that he's not computer savvy and doesn't know how to use that phone. He is limited. It's a person. I'm going to tell you this, Clint. And it's not hard to be smarter than me. But I said that I go to Colorado and hunt, and there's a lot of big hippie community over there, which I really appreciate it. I understand how they move and get along. They actually go to the Grateful Dead concert, sell those T-shirts, and they have their own way of making their money. But these people, some of these people have masters, and I go, God, I tell them, God damn, what a fucking waste, dude. You're so smart, you're so this, and you're living like this because what I assume is the long hair and what I feel is dirty at the time. In fact, we've hired some of them to cook for us while we're at camp. It's easier for them to cut fucking wood at 8,000 feet, so us being flatlanders. And so we hire these hippies, and I'm talking to them, and the guy's 10 times smarter. I mean, very eloquent, he speaks very well, very nice. Sorry for him. And I think he's looking at me and go, dude, you're a slave to that mighty dollar. Look, I pick my food here, I find there, I help this farmer over here, he gives me whatever, lettuce or whatever the hell. I help this guy over here, I grow my pot plants out in the pot plants, I sell my pot plant over there. They have their own bartering community. Who the hell has got it worse? Who the hell's got it worse, Clint? He doesn't know anything.
Exactly.
Is he middle class?
He's the elite.
He doesn't
That's
know
what
what
we're trying to get. We're trying to disconnect like they are. I mean, they're kind of in a way ahead of the game because they're not playing the game anymore. They're out of the
ahead of the game.
They're
like, what is middle class today?
Yeah, there is. I mean, yeah, right.
Yeah,
what is
that
it?
hippie is middle class.
You got to make $100,000 a year to be, middle class.
Let's look at it. Okay, middle class right now is say $700,000 mortgage with $100,000 in car notes, with $1,000 a month in insurance, with I mean, it's just
so. And then look at it demographically.
$300,000 in student loan debt. I mean, that's middle class.
That's that homeless, that hippie.
Look, Dave. I'm going to be a very frugal Western European, Dutch German kind of cultured guy here in regards to monetary policy, but anyone that has a debt isn't middle class, right? Hey, we got a new speaker coming up.
J-Mac. All right, I love it. He's fired up today.
Oh wow, that Jim Mac.
J-Mac in the house.
Yeah, I'm fired up. I'm really fired up, man. I got a lot to say. I'm a little fired up.
Lay it out.
Cool. Welcome. Bring it, man. Bring the heat.
Let me grill my steak. Introduction to Steak, because he may not know him. He's part of the Westwood Misfits, and
he's part of the clan.
Great guy. He's got a beard like Santa Claus or ZZ Top. This guy, but you know what? He's all heart. I met him. He's just a good person. And he's a good. He believes in the Second Amendment, and that right there makes him okay for me. But I just want Steak to know a little bit about. J-Mac.
Just don't put your guns in a Liberty safe, because if the FBI's got a warrant, the Liberty's going to give them the combination so they can just walk in and open it. Just saying.
That's why you get a Fort Knox vault. You don't get a safe, you get a vault.
You know what?
Well, appreciate it, Javier. Welcome. Welcome. Is it J-Mac?
J-Mac.
J-Mac.
Yeah.
There he is.
There he is, Santa Claus.
You're on mute, J-Mac. Unfortunately, we can't hear you.
Unmute.
You're on mute, man.
All right, we're going to walk you around a little bit for some of my. If you guys want to see what happened, and I'm not sure if it's a tornado or what, but you've been seeing all that been cutting down, and we're going to get right down into some goodness before I even show you what's on my house right now. We got stuff on my house right now, and the insurance want to give you little claims about how you can buy, $1,700 French doors and have it installed. I
just paid 20 grand in doors, dude. Get an attorney.
Oh, nice.
Get an attorney.
I love what you did with the place.
So this is one of
That's
my
his tree.
uproots. That's one of my uproots. This goes back out. What I think today is, I'm going to say about 250 yards. So this goes back and they just keep stacking. Some of the biggest
Wow.
trees in my country have come down, right? So let's go back to the backyard. Let's go see what's on my deck right now. You guys even get to see the rooster.
J-Mac,
Yeah. Hey,
I was going to say, you
I don't
planted
know-
that
I don't
tree
know if it's up-
wrong.
Well, I'm sorry, what?
I was going to say, you planted that tree wrong. It's supposed to be up and down, not sideways.
But hang on, watch this in the background. We got my rooster. He's going to be a dick. So if he's a dick, I'm going to have to go to the house in a minute. 'Cause we have to cut that out because you can't show what happens when he's a dick. You see him?
Yeah, I see it.
Boy, you
I
want
see
to be
the
a
cock.
real chicken hawk?
Get mad right now. No, you have no idea.
Foghorn Leghorn.
Look at him. He's a lot bigger than the rest of the chickens. And when he gets mad, he comes at you and just keeps coming, man. Spur, it's about 1.5 inches, maybe 1.25 inches deep. They are sharp.
Yeah.
Shut up. All right. Now watch this. We're going to bring you down real quick, and then I'm going to let you guys go because I don't want to take over your show, but you got to see this real quick. This is live. My house.
Damn.
Look at that.
That was from the storm of the hurricane and all that just came through Florida and went up north a bit.
I don't know what
No,
happened.
you're way
Like-
up north. It's
That's
All of
what
a
I was
sudden-
going to say. You're way up north.
It came out of nowhere, man. And yeah, it
Wow,
was
man.
like 100-mile-an-hour winds, and I got like I said, 250 yards of this behind my house. If you realize, as I walked around my house, we're in the same pathway. If I look behind me, it's the same outcome.
Well, that
Now,
tree
I
shouldn't
have
have been any bigger, man.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
your
You were
is your homeowner's insurance claiming this as a named storm and trying to
They
tell you
called it
that
a
you have 4
windstorm so
times
far.
your deductible?
They called it a windstorm so far, and my deductible was like $1,000. So we're starting with the tree on my deck, as you guys can see. We don't know how much further damage is underneath there, so we have to go from there. But we got siding damage. You can't match siding. There's a lot of stuff that's happened here that it's gonna be a lot higher than their price, and their price is pretty high, right? But hey, this is 2023. Nothing is cheap.
nope.
No doubt.
Well,
Anyways,
the only
thank
thing
you.
I could tell you, Jay,
Guys, I'm gonna take it off of video, and then I'll be right back.
and the only
Well,
thing, Jay,
was- Appreciate it that he showed that.
yeah, and J Mac, keep an eye on it because the price of labor is
Thanks.
going up daily. And so just realize that if this doesn't get done in a year, well, ask Dave how high it can go. Simple doors used to cost X amount, paint used to cost this amount,
I know.
but it's starting to go up as fast as food is.
Yeah, it's
Labor
ridiculous.
Well, and
is I think, one of
after-
Dave's biggest problems.
After Hurricane
Go ahead.
Ida came through New Orleans, insurance company jerked me around for a good bit until I hired an attorney who came in with his own crew to itemize everything, even the wall plates that covered the electrical outlets and light switches. I mean, covered everything. It went in, and then the lawsuit turned into like $600,000, which the insurance company gave me, I don't know what, 40 grand, to start with. And that was not even chump change. That was like, hopefully this guy will shut up, so I would ask people in your
No.
local area of a decent attorney, that a civil attorney, for insurance. So
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. not only materials going up, but labor is going, and it's harder to get, good labor. Matter of fact, we got a perfect example right now of Clint Westwood, who's a concrete mixer. I'm sure
Oh,
he
yeah.
is charging now more than what he charged
A lot.
the last time he
Yes.
was mixing
Much more.
concrete.
Yes, I gotta. You're gonna have to make an
Exactly.
appointment. I
If-
need down payments. I need a lot of retainers. I mean, I need a lot.
Well, the current
Exactly.
price in my
Machine
area
to
for
mix it.
labor, the current price in my
Yeah.
area for labor is $1,000 a day.
Ugh,
So
Yeah.
that's the current rate in my area.
a day.
1,000 a day.
Hmm.
So
Man, oh man.
It's getting very,
Can
very.
you imagine though? Can you imagine though? Like we often do the math here, and maybe we can't do it specifically, but when those fresh printed dollars that haven't really hit the market yet for the infrastructure bill and the CHIPS Act, and we just said at the beginning of the show the debt ceiling when it was raised in June, it already raised 1.8 trillion. When that money actually hits the market, you're probably going to see $2,000 to $3,000 an hour a day for
That's
labor
exactly.
from at least from people owning their own business. But when you're on wages, obviously you won't be able to afford that because you won't get that same increase in your hourly wage.
No.
So what will happen? And what will happen? I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Once we really capitulate on everything, yeah, there's the debt clock. That's phenomenal. 30. I thought it was already 33. I saw last night it was 33. Or we're
It's
getting
well
there.
over it, but report now.
39.
What is it that you say, Dave? The flow of cash or cash,
no,
the
velocity of money.
velocity.
Yeah.
Could you explain that?
Yeah,
little
whenever
bit?
they decide to put an extra digit or inflate the currency supply, it still takes a little over 3 years for that amount of dollars to enter not the market, but to the average person.
Yeah,
So
basically
see how-
what he's saying is it takes time for the market to adjust. So if you compare it to driving a car at 100 miles an hour and you brake to 60 and then you have to
Yeah.
shift gears again back to 100, and if you've been driving to 100 miles an hour for 10 years at 0% interest and all of a sudden you brake the car like maybe full stop with rising interest rates, your face kind of going to hit the windshield regardless of how well you're buckled
Well,
up.
Well, Clint's really smart at math. So Clint, he says every time a digit changes, do you see how? Can you do the math? Do you see how fast can you focus on those digits, Dave, on how fast they are changing? If we're doing it every 3 years for every digit, really? So can you keep up with that math, Clint?
No,
Of
I
how
mean, what
much?
is
I
it
mean,
like per day? I don't even know what it is. It's a few billion per. I don't know if it's an hour or day or whatever it is that gets created. We
Yeah.
go into debt. I mean, I guess we can do the math.
scary.
$2 trillion divided by 365 when it's not even that. I mean,
Well,
it's
not
like
even
3
it's
months.
it's not scary as long as foreign nations buy your debt and it circles around. But when half the globe says, I kind of don't want to buy your dollar debt anymore,
Yeah, what do you do with it then?
that's when
I
it
mean,
becomes an issue.
That is an issue. Hey, one thing about that, do you think one of the reasons why Tether is still continuing is because Tether likes to buy a lot of treasuries. They kind of absorb. It's not much, but they do absorb billions of dollars in treasuries,
yeah, under Wood audit.
which is a very small proportion.
This is let me answer to this. Let me answer this with a great segue into Dave, if that's
And
okay.
I'm only laughing
And
because Steak's
before I'm
laughing.
going to say the segue, Dave, we were talking about a video earlier this week. If you are so kind to maybe try to search that one already.
Ooh.
Like, we've got Tether as a stable coin, right? An algorithmic stable coin. And Tether is not backed one-on-one. and it kind of got their money everywhere. Like you said, they're buying up whatever, even the debt. And there's also this whole play happening on Binance, where Tether is basically being how do you put this? It's basically being positioned against Circle, and Circle usually has like a 93% backing. But because of Tether and Binance, it's kind of fucking Circle over as well, because the compliance states that, at least European compliance states that you need one-on-one backing by March or April. And they're just gonna, eventually I can see Tether, Circle, and BUSD, Binance USD, all not being one-on-one backed, because as Tether and Circle are going down, you kind of see BUSD and BNB going down as well. So it seems like Binance is pumping that up. They weren't allowed to do business anymore in Belgium because apparently they're complicit for about 100 million in, and maybe even more, maybe even in the billions with drug trafficking. So that's kind of a big issue there as well, that there have to be, they're the ones that might not be doing that, but it's on their platform, and the law in 6 months will state that they're responsible for it. So they have to clean shop. And I think that we're going to see something like, Circle played it very nicely as 93% backing, and Tether obviously didn't. There's various degrees of maliciousness, I would say. But it's probably going to go down on the same heap, where it says, yeah, all of them don't have backing, all of them are not compliant, all of them are fucked. And then there comes PayPal, right? And PayPal is now obviously trying to get into that whole stablecoin narrative, because that apparently will move from a 100 billion to a $3 trillion business. So that's interesting in a few years, right? You want to be part of that, and they have the infrastructure, they have the know-how. So yeah, I know that that's happening in the last couple of months. There's plenty of news about Tether always coming out. There's a great guy on Twitter, on X, called Bitfinex.
Yes.
I can post him up as well. I follow him. I follow his content. He's doing great due diligence on the whole Tether. Well, if I would call it fraud. So that's happening. And then Dave, Javier, and I kind of were talking this week, and we were reminiscing something about Digibyte at some point being in the news. I hope Dave's there to show a video about that, because it had an interesting segue into this. So Dave, you kind of left your cameras off, I think, or are you still there? Yeah, you're still there. I can see it. So have you found the video? Yeah, great. Can we put it on? Oh, you're on mute,
Can't hear
I
you,
think.
Dave. Oh yeah, he may be trying to.
Yeah.
Hey, Steak,
Hope it
since
works.
drugs are legal, let's look at this another way. Should we start? Maybe our money should be backed by drugs, because there is a true balance there.
What?
There is a true balance
you're
there.
The dollar kind of is, to an extent. It's one in the basket. The drugs are in the basket. That's one of the currencies of the dollar.
I don't. We can't hear you, J-Mac.
J-Mac and Dave, I can't hear neither of you.
Yeah, I couldn't hear J-Mac or Dave. So, but yeah, I'm just, Clint, am I wrong? Do I see things way out of line? But I'm thinking, okay, we can't go with gold. We can't go with Bitcoin. Well, shit, maybe we should just back the dollar with drugs, because that community seems to find the balance, and because there's still always a demand. It may go up a little bit. It may go down. I wouldn't know. I don't shop very much out there. But I'm telling
Javier,
you,
I don't know. I don't
something?
know. I don't know. Are you on something right now? Because I want it.
Sure, I understand the premise, and I think people know that I know a lot of people that are in this industry that are doing it legally, that are doing shrooms, that are doing weed, big, massive farms. We're not talking like I sold a quarter, okay? These are big, massive machines. But yeah, we're not going to base the currency on that, dog. We can't do it like that because nobody is gonna.
Nobody's gonna do it. No.
No,
Correct.
I understand.
I think Dave found the video. So if you can bring the drugs back into the segue into the stable coins, I'm much obliged, Javier, because I'm kind of lacking the creativity right now.
You know what? The questions come into my head and go right out. I don't know.
All
Go
right,
ahead,
here
Dave.
we go.
PayPal, and you can transfer money using
Citing
PayPal,
fair
and
use.
Look, I haven't tried it.
PayPal.
I set it up to see how it would work, but I didn't actually try to move money to somebody else or have people move money to me.
What do they let you do? Just Bitcoin?
I guess they could if they want.
I want to try these new ones.
On PayPal, you could send crypto.
I want to try these new ones.
Crypto.
Pick one of these, Sorkin, for the next one. Digibyte, VeChain, SafeMoon. I feel like this is like the Kentucky Derby. How about SafeMoon?
During the commercial break, set up your Venmo.
So he's reading this, and how did that end up on his script to read, right?
Yeah. Let's first he
How
talks
long
about
ago,
the script
Dave?
about PayPal, and then this is May 2021, by the way. So he talks about, the first guy talks about, the script of PayPal and doing wired payments through PayPal. Well, PayPal wasn't a player yet in the crypto space, and pitted against that. The other guy reads another script, because usually what happens, these companies, they kind of pay for advertisement on TV, right? They pay to get a script being read. So the other guy mentions Digibyte, VeChain, and SafeMoon. SafeMoon obviously being like a meme coin that is supposed to be going. But the first two are pretty prominent because they're both, VeChain is obvious, but Digibyte is also doing a fair bit, apart from being a proof of work UTXO. Behind the scenes, they do a fair bit in supply chain. And, I thought it was an interesting video in hindsight, because not only did it mention Digibyte, but also pitted against PayPal. And at the time, it was like, well, Digibyte's in the news and no one really thought anything about PayPal. But now that PayPal's kind of coming around the corner with the whole stablecoin thing, they must have been working on that behind the scenes. It's not something you decide in a day to just say, okay, I'm going to put this forth. So it begs the question to me, and I think that's what we're seeing in a larger scheme, is who are the big institutional investors that who are they supporting? And I don't mean like BlackRock, but like what's Vanguard doing? What's Berkshire Hathaway doing? What's Fidelity doing in this space? And somehow in the last couple of months, we see a couple of these fellows from these institutions popping up in these spaces and in the news backing shit. And I thought, I'm grateful that Dave found the video and managed to pull it up. But I think it's not a coincidence that it's being called in the same breath, especially on the news. I think there was more to the video as well, wasn't it, Dave?
Yes, and I to add to that, I found another video I can share with y'all too. But yeah, I can go ahead and just let the rest of this play.
A great one.
And I will tip you. I will tip you.
He
Can you
doesn't
believe
have a
that?
Venmo account.
He thinks I have a Venmo account.
He doesn't have.
I'm still on MySpace. I told you that. And a lot of times I can't know what's going on because I've got my Walkman on and I can't hear what people are telling me to do. So I know, Andrew, that's not. Not.
If the audience can then tip me, I will then print out the money and I will bring it to Joe. How about that?
Now, guys,
So yeah, right now they're just going back and forth on trying to make
obsolete technology. Walkman's printing money.
Right. So, but the big news there was the PayPal mention. So it's like, and no one heard a damn thing. So let's see. But yeah,
Another good one.
I found another video. So go ahead.
You found one that was it was an older video. I think Jared Tate was on there. Very informative video. I don't know if that's the one you were going to play, but I liked it. There was a lot of information, and I think that's what's lacking right now. And I think we were in a community. I think that was the final conclusion. We actually saw Johnny Law there, and basically he and some of the other people agreed that maybe once a week there needs to be a little bit more transparency, or put it this way, y'all are very familiar with these computers and you know how to get to that information. It's extremely difficult. People with the money and the older people stake, what I'm saying is people like myself, this community has the money to invest, but we are being
So
stifled because it's hard to
let's watch
find.
the video then. Let's watch the video. I'm kind of curious. I don't know if I've seen this one yet.
Oh,
I liked what Jared Tate had to say. I think it was great.
Is another
Wish we had
token
more
that
of
isn't
it.
having any part of the crypto winter. Unlike GoChain,
Turn it up, Dave.
Digibyte is not.
warm up. The new microwave works.
I think,
Yeah, J Max got his mic hot.
yeah.
Let me go in real quick. Give me just a sec.
This
No,
is a great
he
video.
already
This is
he
the
already
one.
muted himself, Dave. So
Oh, okay.
feel free to press play.
All right. Let's see. Darn it.
Is another token that isn't having any part of this crypto winter. Unlike GoChain, Digibyte is not a new player in this space. It's been around since about December 2014. Digibyte was one of the best performing tokens in 2017 and has one of the strongest communities I've ever seen out there. I've got Jared Tate with me from Singapore. Jared, Digibyte. What is Digibyte?
Well, Digibyte is a completely decentralized UTXO-based blockchain. It's 40 times faster than Bitcoin. It's 10 times faster than Litecoin, and it's actually 5 times more decentralized. It's also currently the longest major blockchain in the world today.
Now, Jared, you mentioned that Digibyte is 40 times faster than Bitcoin. Does that mean that you have blocks that clear every 15 seconds?
Yes, absolutely. So we've had that 15-second block time for almost 3 years now. So we've definitely tested it and proven it can work in the wild.
Okay, you also mentioned that Digibyte is 5 times more secure than Bitcoin. What do you mean?
Well, so what you can actually do is, because Digibyte has 5 independent mining algorithms, you could literally take all the Bitcoin mining power in the world, throw it at Digibyte, and you would only get 20% of the blocks because that's only one of the algorithms. So the original idea is you had all these special ASIC, manufacturers that are now centrally controlled by just, one major company. And you could actually basically put things on an even keel with like video game, gamer miners, or just people mining with a regular desktop computer.
Are you saying that unlike Bitcoin, you've got 5 proof of work algorithms?
Yes, 5 proof of work mining algorithms. So in order to attack Digibyte, you would have to take over a majority of basically all 5 of them. So you would have to have various different types of hardware. You could actually, like I said, take all the Bitcoin mining power in the world, throw it at Digibyte, take all the Litecoin mining power in the world, throw it at Digibyte, and you would only get 20% of each of those 2 algorithms, or of the total blocks.
So it sounds like you're saying that you've got a chain that's faster, more secure, and more scalable than Bitcoin. But is anyone actually using Digibyte?
Yes, absolutely. We have, if not the largest, one of the largest, alt communities out there. We have a very, very large grassroots organic, user base from across the globe. I mean, if you just look at some of the data in terms of social media engagement, etc., we've got a lot of very talented developers. We were never an ICO. There is no centralized company behind Digibyte. It literally is a community of tens of thousands of dedicated individuals and developers that are working hard each day to make Digibyte better.
In terms of merchant adoption, is there merchant adoption of Digibyte?
All the time. There's a lot of people that use Digibyte for arbitrage between exchanges. There are several, businesses that do accept it as payment. However, I don't like to focus on that because I feel like the currency use case is not the best use case for a truly decentralized blockchain like Digibyte. One of the focuses that we have is our blockchain actually was launched on January 10th, 2014 with the headline target 110 million customers data stolen. And we truly believe that blockchain technology like Digibyte can fix 95% of the cybersecurity vulnerabilities in the internet today. So that's kind of our main focus is using blockchain technology for real world issues that are outside of currency.
Jared, give me an example of some of these use cases.
Well, for instance, I don't want to go too much into it, but I actually have spent the last 6 months working on a prototype for a real estate application that's backed by the Digibyte blockchain that we'll be launching later this year. But it's completely outside of simply payments, but we're talking about actually securing, those real world assets by, a real world proven blockchain technology. Another use case that's been well demonstrated on top of Digibyte is actually international trade logistics and document management. You have the ability to secure contracts, with a very, very impressive array of new technologies that basically leverage a lot of the different unique aspects of the blockchain. For instance, you can use the private keys for more than just sending and receiving payments, right? You can use those to identify somebody that's signing a document in a contract. You can use those to identify and timestamp when that contract actually happened on the decentralized blockchain. So there's a lot you can do. If you go to our website, digibyte.io, there's a breakdown that kind of explains, whether it's media, video files, property rights, a lot of people use the term smart contracts, but I think it's actually more than that.
Jared, why do you think Digibyte has managed to buck the trend when it comes to the crypto winter?
I feel like the market is clearing itself out. I think some of the more serious proven technologies are starting to rise. People are seeing it. I think, this last fall, there was such a massive run up. There was just a flood of new people. Well, a lot of those people had, 6, 7, 8 months now to start doing research. But also, we just released a new Android wallet. We've got some new companies that have come out and they've started using the Digibyte blockchain for various and assorted things. We've got a really innovative solution that we actually came up with, what we call DigiID, that we've actually rolled out into these wallets, where you can actually effectively use your crypto wallet to log into websites, to log into multiple services, and effectively replace passwords and two-factor authentication. So that's one of those other areas that I was talking about that really has a tremendous amount of potential for practical everyday use cases. So, I would encourage people that are listening to go check out DigiID and see how a blockchain can be used, a crypto wallet can be used for something other than just simply sending and receiving money.
That's Jared Tate, and he's the founder of Digibyte all the way from Singapore. Now, I'm always amazed at the strength of the Digibyte community. No matter where you go, Twitter, Reddit, GitHub.
Well, very well said. You know what? Very well. I don't know how long ago this is. Please send it to me. I want to post that on Twitter. It's important that information, but since then, what other information has been out? I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Steak? I loved it. I absolutely like the information that he was giving us. I don't know. Maybe I haven't looked enough out there for any more information.
A little bit finer of a niche. If they want to go for more the information level of currency exchange. So it's like the info level of currency exchange could be important because I'm always about, I do the same thing. I use Litecoin to move between exchanges.
Yeah, great information, dude.
Maybe I can
do we want to talk about the video or just move on the conversation? I'm okay either way.
No, you go ahead and talk about what are your thoughts on the video. I'd love to know what your thoughts are.
First time I saw it, a bunch of questions. I think it originates from somewhere around 2017 or earlier.
Probably 18.
A few things have changed there, but yeah. I'll clarify that in a minute.
Well, feel free, Dave.
Well, the first thing I'd like to clarify is the Android and iOS wallet that he was referring to. Those projects have been, not projects, but those wallets are no longer supported. So, and also it's now digibyte.org, not IO. And, Renzo is building the desktop wallet and a few other things for integration. However, we're recommending people to go to Coinami wallet and use the Coinami wallet. You can also use a Digi Sweep to sweep those old wallets of iOS and Android, so that way then your funds are not lost. There's a way to reclaim that in the meantime, in the interim, until another Digibyte mobile wallet is created. But yeah, Noah had stepped away from that. He began in other projects, so he moved on, and so those things were abandoned, if you will, temporarily. So a few other things have to go on with 8.22 in order to move forward with that. And to JMac's point, yes, I use Litecoin from exchange to exchange, and then I purchased Digibyte. I always use Litecoin as my on and off ramp.
Put it this way, I think for the time, at that time, that was a lot of information. I don't know. You know what? I don't know what you had to go through. I would like a copy. Like I said, I'll retweet that. For the time, I think the information was being put out there. There's just been a time that it seems to be stifled. Wrong, right? I don't expect everything to be heading a perfect direction, but it was very informative. And even for me to understand, and I'm not a very technical guy, but I'm like, wow, 5 algorithms. Wow.
Well,
Well
Javier,
said. But go ahead. You tell me what you think, State.
well, I think the obvious thing is that in 2017, Digibyte was around 2,500 SATs, and right now it's about 25. And we're 5 to 6 years further in 6 years further in development since 2017. 5.5 or 5 years further in development since the origin of the video. He mentions in the video that he's been working with several new partners on the chain and something for real estate, and obviously the sign-in of DigiID. Maybe I'm forgetting a thing, so let's just go a little bit into those three. The real estate angle, we haven't really seen anything of yet. Could still be happening on the background, could also be abandoned. DigiID is based on BitID, which was a concept originally on the Bitcoin blockchain that was never used. It's licensed with an MIT license, which basically also means that you're not allowed to have commercial activity based on that IP. So you're not allowed to make a buck out of it. However, what we also see in the Digibyte space or community is that there was a company called Autumn ID in Belgium owned by Jan Meldemans, who created a different sense of DigiID, and they called it Autumn ID. And maybe that is a different intellectual property right. And those rights to that company and to Autumn ID were then purchased by Digicorp Labs, or the DGMV token that it's now under, also in collaboration with DigiFree, so Digicorp Labs plus Freefold. Now, at the time of this video, and I'll go into the second segue, or the third one. So we had real estate, we had DigiID becoming Autumn ID, and now DGMV ID. And then you also have the angle of Freefold, which is a different project that wants to create the infrastructure for a new internet, an actual Web3. And they use several blockchains to try to achieve that. Amongst them, one is Digibyte. And they have a collaboration on an enterprise level with a company called DigiFree, which combines Digicorp and Freefold. They also have a collaboration there with under a grant of the European Union to create some kind of a meta OS, some kind of metaverse operating system. So So the interesting bit here to me is that Jared mentions that they're already working with several prominent partners in 2018. However, if you look at the SATs, you would have probably expected to have a rise, especially after 4 years from 2017 to 2021. But if you look at the performance of Digibyte in 2021, compared to the SATs in 2017, even with all the development happening, it did fuck all. So the question then becomes why? Well, two reasons. One, it's still all very tight-lipped. You really have to go digging to find this. And second, so it wasn't really marketed, this news. And second is there is hardly any community, because any attempt at creating a community has been, for whatever reason, been at the, well, at the cost of the tantrums of a few people in the community that kind of destroyed any true grassroots movement. So if you combine those things, especially my angle is that there is some kind of repression going on in order to make sure that it doesn't grow. Because when you look at the on-chain activity of the biggest wallets, and we know what exchanges own them, Bittrex is one of them, LCX is another of them, Binance as well. There's a few more. Johnny Law has a lot more information on this because he done the research in great detail, is that these big exchanges throughout the entire shitstorm have continuously accumulated more and more and more at a very low price. So apparently behind the scenes, all the big players still are on the same path, or even accelerated that. However, the retail investor doesn't see anything of it, because in SATs, for those that invested near 2017, you've actually done a negative 100x. Well, if you compare that to other projects in the entire crypto space, that's since 2017. Some people are pretty pissed off, I can tell you that. And
a couple of those things. I mean, you're getting a lot of a big package here, right?
Yeah. Well, basically, what he's saying is it's a lack of transparency.
You can talk about
yeah, I'm just saying intentionally it's being repressed.
Yeah.
I'm in 100% agree with you, and I want to give you like facts that are going to support. And I have a couple questions that may be opposition, but can we break them into little smaller pieces? You're giving out a ton of information, ton of truth bombs. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to.
Do you have an internet browser open right now?
Yes.
Well,
Me?
Yeah, or Dave. Dave could actually share the screen. We could actually go through the whole due diligence right now if you want to, live.
Even think like, let me break a little piece of what you were saying, man. I'm absorbing everything you said, man. I loved it. 95% true in my feeling. I got questions though. Right?
Hey, go ahead, man. Feel free. Just hop in.
So when we break into those small little companies that they were creating, the independent things, they created them as independent companies, like the DigiID. So they had different like application.
Okay. So let's start there first. DigiID is not a company. DigiID is a way to use the key pairing off-chain to sign contracts or identify yourself with, authenticate yourself with a timestamp.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is like certain companies, like they had different variations of what they were doing, right? Is it going to be? Maybe I'm missing.
Right.
I think what he's trying to say is the lack of transparency on this.
No, I'm going to clear the confusion here. That's not it.
Okay. I think if we do marketing, I think we can fix the downfalls. I think the chain is perfect. The problem is you have specific things that you want to market to, and it becomes its own entity, right? So, like, if you're marketing just the Digi ID, it becomes its own thing, and then they find a way of attacking it.
Right. Well, what it's trying to do is everything all at once. So this is just an aspect of it, but it was based on what Jared Tate said in that video. It's not the only thing that's being created on in the ecosystem of Digibyte.
Correct, and we're in agreement, just so we understand.
Well,
No,
I
and
think
J-Mac,
J-Mac
we're
was
all
trying
holders.
Just to clarify a little thing, and I'll repeat that shortly because the other guys want to talk too. So, BitID is an MIT licensed protocol on Bitcoin that was never developed in Bitcoin any further. Digibyte went along with it and created it and called it DigiID, which is an authentication based on the same intellectual property that BitID uses, but then on the Digibyte blockchain, but actually not on the blockchain, but with the key pair. So eventually a company in Belgium,
Other blockchains have duplicated it, and that's where, like, it becomes like a trademark issue, right? Like, if it's going to be
it becomes a copyright issue from intellectual property aspect, because here's the thing. If you use BitID, which has an MIT license, anyone can use it for free. You're not allowed to commercialize it. So you could technically do this on Litecoin as well. You could have a Litecoin ID. You could do that. And or a Lite ID, however you want to call it. It's a marketing thing. But what happened in the Digibyte community is that there was a company in Belgium that eventually changed something there. I don't know what, and created more than just the login through DigiID. Did something else with the technology, patented that, and sold that patent. That company was called AutumnID and sold that patent to Digicorp Labs. So now they have that technology and probably something more, I don't know what, and they're able to commercialize that angle.
Gotcha, man. Thank you, buddy.
Was that Antum ID or Ontum or
it
might be a subtle.
like,
I know what you're talking about. Might be subtly different. I'm not sure how it's spelled.
AUTUN. AutumnID.
But I remember that. Yeah. You had to pay to use it. You had to. They charged something to use it, but it was very similar.
Yeah, and
it was confusing.
The owner of that company in Belgium is Jan Meldemans. He's also part of Digicorp. And I think what they try to use is that they want to use that technology under an EU wallet where you can log in on everything and be globally compliant. That's the whole legal angle that gives them the edge over anything, I think, in the entire space.
Comes from right there. Like, it becomes a country legal issue patent.
It becomes a global compliant thing because there is no legal framework anywhere in the world that's more comprehensive than the one in the EU. So for enterprises, that's interesting. I can break that down for you. So for example, say you have a McDonald's that operates in nearly any country in the world, right? And some countries will say we want to have legal tender with Bitcoin. For example, El Salvador, and probably a few more in the future. Maybe Argentina, maybe Central African Republic, and a few others. So what happens is you got a few countries that say we want to be able to buy a Big Mac with a Bitcoin, whether that's direct through Bitcoin or through a Lightning Network wallet, doesn't matter. It's legal tender. So McDonald's cannot say no. They have to accept that. It's legal tender. However, for a company, an enterprise, a multinational such as McDonald's, it's very, very annoying to be able to have different countries that all have a different legal approach to the same monetary value, because Bitcoin laws are not the same in every country. They're not the same in El Salvador as they are in Central African Republic, as they are in Argentina, as they are in the EU, as they are in Singapore or Japan or wherever. However, so that's a compliance angle. However, if you have a potential coin that is compliant globally through the same legal framework everywhere else, that saves a lot of shit for an enterprise or a multinational such as McDonald's, because you wouldn't need a Bitcoin department individually in every single country that you operate in. You'll be able to just do that from your headquarters and be done with it. So let alone the legal headache if you're doing things by the book, and you might have to go through all sorts of bureaucratic loopholes because the Bitcoin laws in Argentina are different than they are in, I don't know, Central African Republic again, or the EU or the US. However, if you have something that's fully compliant because it's basically been tested through the EU legal framework and it's part of the whole wallet system and all the IP rights are in place, as a company, that's very interesting, because if the EU basically puts their stamp of approval on it, and maybe the US in the future as well with the same legal framework, then an enterprise such as McDonald's or any other multinational globally could say, well, we don't want that headache with compliance. We just want to know something that works, that doesn't have to be individually different in whatever country I operate in. I can just get one system and that's it. And I think that that's a very powerful selling point and worthy to pursue. And I think that that's where the entire space is about. I think that that's where a BlackRock or a Fidelity or a Vanguard or a Berkshire Hathaway wants to get a cut in whatever way possible, because they want to be part of where enterprises put their money. They want to be part of that business because they hold that money. So I think that's the angle that the EU or Digibyte is going.
Are there any countries that don't value the UK opinion?
The UK opinion on what?
Yeah, the UK opinion on it.
You mean EU?
Is
EU.
sorry. Yeah,
That's right.
UK. I'm sorry.
Oh, the EU's opinion.
Welcome to my world.
Well, yeah, there's a ton of acronyms and abbreviations everywhere. I don't blame you. It's interesting that you asked that, because it's not clear cut. There is such thing as a Brussels effect, which is a phenomenon that describes that when the EU, as a big economy, puts in regulation for a higher quality product, the entire world kind of adopts it, because it's cheaper to go with a better quality than to have different sets of quality, one for Europe and one for the rest. So that's called the Brussels effect. And what we've seen happening so far with the regulation for digital assets, which is called MICA, M-I-C-A, is that it consists of a legal framework for digital assets that the US is copying in some sense as well, not only through Congress, but also through the legal jurisprudence of the court cases that the SEC has basically been through with various crypto projects. But the legal issues in the US work a little bit differently. They go through Congress, but they also go through court cases. So, but we are seeing kind of the same framework happening and being created in the US. So it's my conjecture, it's not fact, but so far I'm still right, that the same things are happening in the US as they will in the EU. Now, this law, this legal framework has been voted in the EU, but hasn't been that active yet, because it's not mandatory. So it will be mandatory for coins by March, April next year, 2024, and it will be mandatory for exchanges in September, October next year, 2024. And that's the deadline that US is using as well. So to answer your question, is the rest of the world adopting this? I think so, yes.
Well,
I was actually kind of joking, but really? Yeah, like
Well, I'm just glad that we have someone right now like Steak. I mean,
Wow.
what he just said, I can't elaborate on because I wouldn't know how to explain it, but I do know what he means and the importance of that information as me being an investor is to me. Like I said, we all are invested in Digibyte. We all like Digibyte. Why do I need to? Why isn't there more
And speak on the
information
guy
out
on the
there?
screen.
There's Mark Warner, our former governor of Virginia, right?
Right.
And
That's a prominent
Bilderberg
figure.
member too.
That's a guy that I mentioned over a year ago, becoming your new president of the United States at some point in the future when no one knew him. I said, there's your guy. And he's been part of the intelligence under, I think, Clinton administration, or it was the Obama administration. So to go a little bit more geopolitically, what is the problem? It's basically the West versus China. We had a Bretton Woods too, and it kind of backfired for the US because some people under Clinton thought that if you put the production to China and China creates more wealth and prosperity, then the people in China, the citizens, will rise up and demand the same liberties that we have in the West and demand that in China. But it kind of backfired because China thought, we're just going to build a bigger state and we're gonna be as authoritarian as we've ever been. Because at the end of the day, it's an Eastern philosophy of governance and not a Western philosophy of governance. So that was kind of idiotic, and that kind of backfired. So what happened? The US put all that tech and all that wisdom and intellect that they have in their production, predominantly in electronics, they put that in surveillance, and they put that in telecommunications. So enter UA. UA is a company that created the G5 networks globally as one of the first player to do so. Much more prominent and a much better product than what we did in the West. We kind of lost that. Nokia, Ericsson, Samsung, AT&T, Verizon, all of them were outcompeted by UA. What also the US at that point said, well, we have reason to believe that UA is using their routers and their telecommunication masts and their phones to spy on foreign government and on citizens. And there's also, of course, TikTok later on, which is China owned, which is using their algorithms to steer children into being dopamine addicts instead of upright citizens. Well, what did they do? They decided to ban UA from being a player in the West. So every government was basically outed by the US to say, well, you gotta kick them out of your country. And so they did. And the semiconductors that many Western countries create, both in Taiwan and in the Netherlands, they were not allowed to sell those machines that make those chips to China. And now China today actually created a new phone through UA that is completely outside of the whole intellectual property debate, that is completely outside of the chips debate, and that can potentially be sold. So there has to be a new round of basically excluding China. So they're at the forefront of competition, but there also something new happened that Mark Warner, the guy you're looking at, is spearheading, and that's called ORAN Alliance. It stands for Open Radio Access Networks. It's basically G6, G7 technology, but then with Western partners. So what do you find there if you go to that website, ORAN Alliance? And Mark Warner has spoken as a spokesperson of the US with the spokesperson of the European Union or European Commission as well about this. That's a guy called Thierry Breton. We did that in the first video, Dave, about basically saying, well, we want to have a competition against China. We want to have the same digital infrastructure in the EU as we have in the US. And many of the companies that we've mentioned are part of that. So you got your T-Mobile, your Vodafone, your AT&T, your Verizon, your Qualcomm from you got companies from Singapore, from Australia, from Japan, but not so much from Korea yet. That's the only one that's kind of deciding, South Korea, on how to deal with this whole issue. But mostly all Western countries, England and Switzerland included, and Norway too, they're part of that infrastructure. So what you're seeing in that digital infrastructure is basically the answer against BRICS. It's basically the countries that will be going with a digital asset on a digital infrastructure. And this guy, Mark Warner, is spearheading that part of the hardware infrastructure. He's also the same guy that proposed the TikTok Encryption Act, which is basically the Patriot Act on steroids, called the Restriction Act. I thought it was the 686 or the 868. Thought it was the 686, which basically says if that law passes, you're at the whim of your president. By the stroke of a pen, they can take all your entire digital fingerprint. Everything is theirs. Like, you're not allowed to use a VPN. You're not allowed to use edge-based technology. Any asset you own or have a potential of being a terrorist, they don't even have to cite a reason. They could just take it and be done with it. That is a law that I think isn't passed, but it's a draft, and quite an interesting fella, to be very honest. And I don't think a lot of Americans are really talking about him, but I think he's pretty up there. So, a little introduction there.
Yeah, he was on my radar, a long time ago when he was governor of Virginia, I think it was. And he was attending Bilderberg meetings. And at that point, I'm like, who is this guy? He was a younger guy. He had aspirations to run for president. I think he might have actually gotten the race in the primaries at one point. But I knew he was one of those guys that was kind of marked, pun intended, to kind of, rise to power and have some elevated position. But, I don't know, make of it what you will. But, yeah, I agree. He's definitely one to watch in what he's doing.
That's scary because, in my opinion, y'all know how I feel. Presidents are chosen, not elected.
Yeah, we have selections, not elections, right? We have selections.
And if it's true, damn, I'm just, what, Steak? I just want to I appreciate the information because it makes me
I've been
think
going on a rabbit hole
when
the past 2.5 years, mate.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing the rabbit hole being played out.
Until you say what you say, and it's a drop the mic moment, and even for me not to comment, it's because there's so much more for me to look into, and I want to, because I'm invested, and this is my hobby, and I actually have made a little bit of money doing this. So I wonder if this is a bad thing. I think, like I said, as far as I knew, from the little that I knew, I like this video from 18. I think at that time there was still more information coming out, but as we get nitty and gritty, if we are truly decentralized, what are we hiding?
It's one of the. This is one of the reasons. This is one of the reasons, Javier, is that if there is truly a very big prominent connection between government and corporations, public-private enterprises in the Digibyte ecosystem, or using Digibyte for that means, that could also happen because technically Digibyte doesn't have an entity to do business with. I kind of refute that, but that's the legal issue, the legal side of it. But if that's really the case, if the government and enterprises are really using that to create a system for our money, then I think it's only fair, and I'm putting it out there lightly, that as citizens we're kind of being well informed here, because it's a pretty evasive implementation of technology we could potentially look at if we're going into, you could call it a state-controlled Bitcoin. Is that what it is? Is it? I don't know. Is it a gateway to potential CBDC? How is my data privacy going to be? No. Don't ask me anything yet. How is our data going to be protected, Javier? Where? I think those are pretty prominent questions that I have a right to be pissed off about, and I think others should too, because it's incredibly elaborate and invasive for the rest of my life, including my offspring. And if you understand the ramifications of it, you'd be much more alarmed. And the fact that even asking a question about probably one of the most alarming things that could potentially happen is being deemed as being deflective is just not good enough. It just won't cut it. And yeah, that's my biggest pet peeve with it. I understand the patience, but I think it's too prominent and too invasive and too big not to be taken seriously if this is the case. And then there's the whole repression angle, that it was clearly done to give the edge to enterprises instead of retail investors. So that already tells me, yeah, but it already tells me what the actual morality behind it is. So if that's the morality behind it, why should I believe the rest?
Thank you. No, yeah, I think Dave says that one part of the equation is wrong, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but it definitely behooves us.
That sums it up.
I'm going to ask. Let me ask you
How,
or Dave. Give me an answer. Do
I don't
you
know,
think that
man.
this information is important to you? I mean, whether it's true, whether you want to do more research, whether you don't, where is it so difficult? And put it this way, I'm sure there's stuff on Litecoin and other coins that I hold that have the same secrecies, and I don't want to call it secrecy. The information is out there, but it's not easy to obtain. I just want to know as an investor, not so much as changing the world, but you have a little bit in there and you
Well,
want to leave something for your
mate,
family. Wouldn't you want
in
to
all
know this
honesty, Javier,
information or not?
in all honesty, Javier, this is, look, if we're looking at like the adoption of people moving their fiat to a CBDC system, of using digital authentication on an immutable blockchain, if we're looking at possibly the end of open source software, because there's different restriction acts coming for that in the EU as well. If you put that on steroids through AI marketing, then I just wonder, how much power do you have against that marketing machine? How much power does your biology has against, being real-time fucked by an AI that adjusts to your biometrics? And then you could say, well, poverty is a choice. I would say, no, it isn't. I think that social upward mobility should be there in society. We should have a free market, but then we'd have the opposite.
Yes.
We'd have a feudal system. And now I'm going to play a devil's advocate. I could see the angle where countries agree with one another to have a common agenda to build something in order to make sure that they have an answer to the debt rising. I see that angle. However, I think this is a moral thing. I think the road towards the future is created by traveling the road well, because that's how you give the future generations an example of how to do business.
Thank
but
you.
if you're
Well,
going Machiavellian with
let me stop you right there for 1 second.
why
Dave.
would you cut me off right at that point, Javier?
Just because I didn't want to forget, and you know what, I should write this down. Go ahead, Steak. I truly am.
No, I'll make it short, but it's actually pretty. It's pretty profound, I think. If you think about, like, if you have Machiavellian governments that basically say we have an end to justify the means, that's what they're doing right now. We have a 2030 agenda. We all agree with it commonly, so we all have to, move towards that. So at any cost, achieve that goal. However, if you create that new future through that paradigm, you're basically telling future generations that the way to do business and the way to govern society is to do whatever you want to do at any cost. And I think that that's an incredibly dangerous and wrong message to give. I think it potentially can backfire tremendously with young generations that say, yeah, you're right, we should fuck life. We should fuck 99% of the people over at any time, because we just want to do what we want to do. It worked for them in the past, so we should do that too. And I think if you morally want to give the right message to future generations, and you want generations that have deflationary money, so you want them to to basically plant trees where they won't sit in the shadow of it. You know, it's for future generations, that old Greek proverb. If we're going back to that moral paradigm, which I hope we will at some point, you have to lead by example. And we're not doing that right now. And from that aspect, I would say that from a retail investment, from an investment point of view, I get your position, Javier. But I think this is so much bigger than that, that I honestly hope a few more people
I
are in it
agree
for
with
the
you,
tech and the
Dave.
morality as well.
No, and I'm going to tell you that for the youth, I would understand why they're being pissed off. I mean, I go back and I listen to Johnny's show because Johnny Law show when he was on with us, because I understand the importance of retail and the other motherfuckers that have this that are controlling it. But it seems to me that if there's a lack of it, it's because the interest for whoever has certain kind of controls is for not retail to get it. So as a young person, I would be pissed off that I would feel like this wasn't a fair game. In other words, we came to this play, they made us play with two people less, they made us play with one arm tied behind our back, and the information, they're going to come up, well, the information was there, you just didn't know how to look for it. No, it's more than that, because we've been discussing, Dave and I have been discussing this for a long time. This tape just came up. I like the tape. Could there be more? I've learned a lot more to where there's still now more questions after I spoke with you. But how does a normal youth get that? Let me just go, the retail isn't, in other words, we're not enlarging retail. They realize that most of us are tapped out. I'm going to assume that most people are starting to get rid of their cryptocurrency because they didn't plan that this would go on. I know that I thought this shit was going to blow up and at the end of
So
21. It didn't.
here's
22.
the devil's advocate for not going for retail but going for enterprises. Enterprises bring in more liquidity. So hypothetically, if all multinationals would adopt Digibyte instead of Bitcoin, retail will move to Digibyte as well, because it will have a deeper pool of liquidity. And if that's what they're trying to go for, I think that's a pretty. First of all, I think that's a pretty big piece you want to chew off. I think it's pretty damn difficult to do that. And on the other hand, if they are, why wouldn't they want to have retail in on it? I mean, if they could pull this off, like,
well, they will in 2025, and then they'll dump it on retail, and then we'll repeat the cycle.
Yeah, but at what cost to them? You know what? Put it this: the only reason, Clint, you're not buying more is because we're broke. I'm just putting words in your mouth.
I'm paying for college tuition to get that piece of paper for my daughter.
So we're all tapped. So there may be a new kind of investor that would come in, and with the information the state just had, may come up and start doing their own. Maybe they know how to do that homework. Maybe they are smart enough to get into it and dig it. And you know what? They're not going to, maybe they get mud and throw it at a wall. They sell something that they're not using in that garage, that bicycle, whatever. And they go, you know what?
Couch.
I like these four guys. They seem crazy enough. I'm just going to throw mud at the wall. Do you know what $1,000 right now on Digibyte would do in the future? And it's very frustrating because I see the importance of spreading it out. I don't understand when Michael Saylor owns I don't know how many millions of freaking dollars, and Matt Kaiser owns. In other words, the community is not going to be there for the Bitcoin. Yes, there's a bunch of us that own less than one coin of Bitcoin that will be extremely valuable in the future. But right now, there's a golden opportunity. And even within our own group, these questions were asked. And it takes it as they take it as a defensiveness of, Javier, you're just hating the group and you're, no. I want to hear more. If I could hear steak for 24 hours, I'd have them 24 hours because I understand. You know what? This is how I try to balance what I have due to the lack of I'm not blaming anybody, my lack of ability. But now I have Blind Dave, I have you that mentioned Digibyte, and then I have Steak that's given me a fucking an atomic bomb worth of information on this. And I think that's not all of them. There are a lot of people that got their pom poms.
The funny thing about it, Javier. The only thing I've done so far is just state facts and connected a few
State
dots.
facts.
And it obviously raises more questions because you see what they're building and how that positions in the current ecosystem of crypto in general and the legal framework that's happening globally. I happen to know a little bit about geopolitics and I follow macroeconomics as well. So I am by no means an expert, but I have enough knowledge to have a common grasp of like what's going on in the world from a generalist point of view. And because I'm so broad, I have to keep everything generalist. I have to get the gist of it, but I don't really go into a lot of specifics, enough to validate my claims in the grand scheme of things. But, it's just, it makes sense that the EU and the US would go after this whole infrastructure and working together. I get that. It makes sense to have NDAs and to also make sure that you can't talk about certain things. I get that. But what I don't get is that you would at some point cut out retail or enterprises, because you could easily also do both. You could have both a good community, thriving community, and get enterprises in on it. So what would happen? Would Digibyte then? Well, for one extra zero, because Digibyte would 10x with a good community. That's it. It would only 10x, but it would. It's an extra 0.
At least.
With a good community, it would do an easy 10x. But they want to go for 1,000 or a 10,000x. That's their angle.
This was brought up. No, it's suppressed. To me, this is what I feel. I mean, I feel that they are suppressing the price so that they keep buying. We're not buying. I mean, Johnny Law told us 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, we're not buying. The retail isn't buying.
Oh, you can see it on chain yourself. You can check it yourself on chain.
But that's where I'm getting frustrated, because I would think that the community seems to have these Digibyte, and I asked Johnny Law. Johnny Law goes, look, I think transparency is extremely important. I think we should at least have one thing to where we are letting the community know that we another space that goes into that space, and they try to push Digibyte all day long. Put it this way. You have convinced me more now to buy more Digibyte. You haven't scared me away. What I have is more information to make an educated decision. And I trust you. But it's still my response is not. But as long as everything's out there, do you know when we go into another space what is discussed on Digibyte? As soon as ask Dave how we are treated when we go to those other communities and we do mention Digibyte, the first thing they say is Jared Tate's an asshole. We can't go beyond that step. You know why their information is there for a not as educated person that knows how to do the research that you know how to do and is as eloquent as you in speaking, to go out there and say, let me try to sell people on the Digibyte. Right there, right next to you, you've got a guy that promotes Digibyte all the time.
Honestly, Javier, don't get me wrong, Javier. Javier, I'm going to cut you off a little bit there. I'm not promoting people to buy Digibyte. I'm not selling Digibyte. People have to do their own due diligence and decide if they want to take the risk on it, because I still think it's a risky move. I think there's a lot that they want to chew off, and I think it could be too big for them to achieve. Who knows? A lot of things can happen. There is a lot of movement behind it. There's a lot of money behind it. There's a lot of prominent companies behind it. but I've yet to see a real tangible product and a good UI UX that can onboard people at some point. So I would say from that angle,
Thank you.
it could easily, with the next bull run, if after like the 4-year cycle, right, on Bitcoin, it could easily be a prominent investment. I think that we've spoken about this before, that could do a 10 or 100x. I don't really like to do price, but we could go there.
Yeah, I don't
But
either.
if we're really going to talk about like the potential that it has, if everything goes their way, then it's obviously huge. But things in life don't work linearly, right? I mean, we can look at things from this aspect and then say, okay, I can extrapolate that into the future, but that's not how the future works. It's never an extrapolation. Like some projects get canceled, others come in, some things fail, other things do better than you thought they would. It's an interesting play to me, and it's just frustrating because I don't have transparency or clarity. You can't really know who behind the scenes in Digibyte is talking to these players. Like, who's talking to Freefold? Who's talking to Nebula? Who's talking to Intel? Who's talking to Hewlett Packard? Who's talking to Ericsson? Who's talking to the EU? Who's talking to the World Economic Forum? Who's talking to the United Nations? I know that they're all in on it. I know they're all in on it. But who in the community is talking with it? Who are the representatives? And for example, to give you another piece of the pie at the other end of the pond, you have the Digibyte Alliance, which I really like their work. I like their professionalism. Michelle, Laura, I think they're doing tremendous work with what they're trying to achieve. And then at some point they want to pitch the project that they're doing, creating a 501c3 in the United States for Digibyte, but also having DigiID. So the MIT licensed DigiID, they pitched that to Homeland Security and the Defense Department, the DoD, I think it's called. Department of Defense, sorry. And then I'm going there with Michelle. Okay, we don't know what the fuck has been said. We don't know. We're getting left out in the dust. So you get this entire anticipation. Nothing's moving from a price point of view, by the way. So it's not like buy the anticipation, sell the news. That didn't work. So you get this whole anticipation of like honestly, sincerely saying, okay, we get to pitch it there. You can find it online if you Google it. Prominent players, like really prominent players. Apparently they did a good job in pitching Digibyte. Great. So what was pitched and where and to who and what came out of that? Out of those network contracts, out of that networking, what came out of it? Crickets. That's what we're getting.
Probably a lot of nice.
We're getting crickets.
Dinners.
Probably,
well,
yeah. Probably a lot. Yeah. Sorry that I'm going on a tangent and on a rampant a little bit here.
No,
but,
go for it.
Go. But I mean that's the U.S. angle, right? That's not even the EU angle. I mean, you guys are in the U.S. So it's not just here. And now Digicorp Labs opened up an office in Silicon Valley a few months ago.
Where is this information? This is what I feel and I'm very upset about because you know what? Thank you, Steak, for letting us know because this is what encourages people like myself and others that may go, you know what? Extra $100. I'm good. That's $100 may be life-changing money to somebody in the future that's not a gambler. That is a true investor and says, I realize the risk of this, but I also realize the reward. And here's my biggest thing where Johnny has made it extremely clear. When I see not retail buying, but corporate buying at this freaking price, is that why they don't buy all at one time? They don't want to move the market. They're secretly buying in what did he say? 10, 15, I don't even know how many $1 million buys. Don't get the numbers. I'm not sure of the numbers, but they were sequential. Boom, boom, boom. No, and I'm wanting to let the community know, not because tomorrow it's going to go to a certain price and I'm going to go and cash out. Look, everybody plays their own game and everybody knows when they get in and out. But I want them to know that, hey, let retail let retail get a little bit stronger so we can have a bite in this game. And I'm going to tell you this. I think it was Dave that said, well, there's at least 70 people that hold over $1 million, and then blah, 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 it's $1 billion and whatever. You know what? That's buying power, my brother. This is power that also, but put it this way. Now, if retail, instead of 70,000 people that were at $1 million, you know what? We have buying power. We have control. We have a certain amount of FU money that says, you know what? We don't use your corporation because your corporation and your corporation and your we don't agree with what you are doing in your corporation, so we don't shop at your. You know what? We have enough buying power to do that, man. We have enough buying power, but it's almost like let's keep reaching. So my question again to everybody: Are there certain people in the DigiByte community? Because we keep hearing decentralization, and I don't see decentralization. If somebody can control the volume, the whatever of DigiByte, then that's not a decentralized. It may be more decentralized than Pepecoin, but it's not decentralized.
Well,
And
I think.
understanding this, and this is what I want the community to know. Go ahead.
Well, no, I think from a decentralized standpoint, it just depends. It's kind of like talking about inflation. You know, what kind of inflation are you talking about? Are you talking about monetary inflation or price inflation? I mean, decentralization, it's like DigiByte's decentralized, no doubt about it, as far as the blockchain itself.
To a degree.
The blockchain. However, you're kind of talking about, okay, are the players involved operating maybe in a more not decentralized way to where they're sharing information.
Good old club?
Decentralization of information as opposed to decentralization of the blockchain. And, you know, it's kind of what you're looking at.
Well, I want to know if there's a good old boy club. I think there always will be.
I really think there always will be. And
great.
I think right now you're definitely seeing, just by the numbers and the metrics of, and it's happening with Litecoin too, somebody's scooping it up. Somebody's taking advantage of the price because, you know, ultimately it comes down to, you go look at the coin market cap, CoinGecko, and you can see what the market cap is of DigiByte, market cap of Litecoin. You can go out there and, you know, Elon Musk can say, hey, I can buy it all. And it won't even cost me anything. It's nothing. I can buy it all. Well, you really can't. So if they can't do it, what's the best way to do it? Well, let's accumulate it when we've got retail stamped down so hard, and we start acquiring these things at a low price when we throw out information, FUD, you know, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That's how they have to accumulate. And the big picture is this to me: they're accumulating. You know, somebody in the know, somebody with money, somebody with resources is scraping it and taking it and putting it somewhere. For what? You're not going to go out and invest in something that you think is going to go to zero and not have a use case. You're investing in something, or you're acquiring something because you understand that it is an economic weapon and you want that in your holster. And the key is waking people up to that fact. And I mean, all these conversations are doing that, but it's realizing that is happening. They wouldn't be buying it for no reason if it didn't have some sort of value to it. So,
but
you know, again, overcome that anxiety, you know, and I mean, yeah, trust me, you know, it's a good old boy network everywhere. It's Boss Hog all over the world. And that's the way it works. So understand, what's Boss Hog doing? Okay, maybe I should do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me just put it this way: Are we right now? Because this game is still very early, and there's going to be a time to sell the news. So is this what's fakes coming out right now? Is this coming out as buy the rumor, sell the? Are we buying? Is this the opportunity? Do I think it is at a half cent? Yes, I've been in this game back in 7. I know what I paid for.
Javier, look at the interview we did. Look at the interview we just watched. They flashed the price. It was 0.03 something for DigiByte.
Yeah, it's 3.9.
And then you loved everything Jared was saying at the time. And so it's like, holy cow. And then you look at where we're at now, and it's more decentralized. I mean, you've got a limited supply of coins, I should say. I mean, so what's the risk at this point? I mean,
are we cock blocking? Are we throwing a wrench into corporate right now if this information gets out, and say it were to go viral, and people, is this how Pepe coin gets to wherever? All of a sudden, a few people start going, "Damn, dude! You know what? I know what this is. I get to 1 million coins right now. What is it? $6,000?" And so, do we get more? My thing is community, and I've always said community is what's going to give more value to the coin. It seems like it feels to me that there are certain people that are depriving the community to grow. Even though we have people that are out there pom-pomming it, but there's not enough guts and information. Put it this way, when I hear what Steak has to say, it brings me into consideration of, do I want to buy more? Do I need to trade more of what I have? Is this an undervalued asset? And I say yes, but hell yes, because compared to Bitcoin, Clint, you're the one that showed me, hey, dude, understand value, understand trades, understand Litecoin to this. Let's go to the big boy. Let's go to Bitcoin right now. What do you think about Bitcoin and Digibyte right now? And I'm
It's the
bad.
same
I'm saying
thing.
let's. Well,
It's
it
way
isn't
undervalued.
because
So
no. Here's the difference.
look at where
You have
Digibyte
Bitcoin
was
way
founded.
overpriced.
Look at
Yes,
where and
but
how
in 2
Digibyte
years
was
before
founded.
Litecoin. Yeah, well, 2 years before Litecoin was, and 3-4 years before. And I'm talking about Bitcoin, Litecoin to Bitcoin and Bitcoin. Not that big a deal, man. You know what? It shouldn't be on the second page. It shouldn't be on the 200 list of understanding that it's never gone down. It's never. It does 15 this. It's more secure with everything that it's got to offer. Why the shit is it people? Clint mentions it all the time. Take a look at what people are like. Yeah, but I'm going to wait for it to go to 001. Really? Do you understand what the F you're talking about?
Yeah,
And
but
I
my
get very
buy
passionate.
orders and Dave's buy orders are higher than that, so it's not going to get to that. It ain't going to happen. I'm just saying. It ain't going to zero.
You know what
Because I'll buy it all
It
at
ain't
zero.
going to zero. Exact point to everybody here is I want retail. I want their if we know of 70 people that are millionaires or own 1 million, I want to have 1,000 people because now we as a group can compete. We have buying power, man. You get this and it runs to $1. Let's go into zeros, man. Let's just go into 50 cents to $1. We've got power and we've got FU money to come in here. Hey, how do the rich people get the right people into those offices? Is that this? That's exactly how they do it. And so if we have plenty of that by influence, Clint, what's it worth to you if people happen to see it your way and you hold 3 million, 6 million, it doesn't really matter. Would it not be worth $1 million to get the right person to kind of agree with you? And look, you're not doing anything illegal. Did Trump do anything when Hillary Clinton seemed to agree with his way of doing business in New York? No, he was just following the law. And I'm not, dude, I just want to play by the same rules that everybody else is playing. And you know what? I don't even have that big a dog in the game. Most of you, the people that have kids, the people that are a lot younger, Steak, yeah, you've got a lot of enough to make it through. But I hate the bullies, man. And I see what's going on. And I don't know that anybody in the Digibyte, and I'm not accusing anybody in the Digibyte community, but it sure does seem like somebody's in the know. Are you trying to tell me that all this shit the state knows, no community knows? That we are the only four that have ever freaking show me some of this shit out there. Show me how to find this shit. And like I said, if I've got to read a lot, man, forget it, dude. I got to watch a freaking video. Y'all go ahead and do the work, and I'll watch y'all's fucking video, or
Well,
I'll
what I
come and
was
ask
gonna
y'all questions on Hashing Out.
what I was
Go
gonna
ahead. I'm
state
sorry I
earlier,
took over.
what I was gonna state earlier is look no further than how Digibyte was formed and founded. It was for
Tell me.
offering a difference of opinion within the Bitcoin forums on different aspects.
I heard that. Yeah.
So and it is the exact same. So being kicked out of the Bitcoin forums, which is supposed to be the most decentralized, right? So
Yes.
why was that so centralized? So it's the same thing all the way back to Bitcoin. I mean, every project out there are things that you and I are not going to be shown until it happens.
Sure.
However,
I
it's
understand that,
connecting the
Dave.
breadcrumbs to figure out what is
Yes.
actually going on behind the scenes. Because I mean, that's all we're left with. You know, we go out here and we look for information, and we join this and join that, and now I got to join like 3 other apps. I don't know how to use Telegram or Discord
Shit,
and
you
all of
don't.
this other stuff. It should be much easier to find the information. It should be.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I feel blessed to be in this community. I am blessed that I'm sure. Look, you know what? JMac had a bunch of good questions. There's what we're showing is that there are people that are hungry. It's not that we hate Digibyte. We don't hate Digibyte. We want information that is. We just want. Look, we don't even want a fair game. We don't care that your player's father is the referee. We'll still go in and play you. We will go in with one man short. We keep taking it. We will still play you, but we don't want to go 10 soccer players to one person who's got to be the goalie, and because there's no way that you're going to win. And right now, that's what I'm feeling. Are they suppressing it for a good reason? Well, maybe in the future I find out, and I will apologize if I do. But right now, do I feel? And I've gone off of my intuition for a long time. I don't recommend anybody go on my intuition because, hey, I've been wrong a lot. But it's kept me safe enough to where I've done well. I've done well on my life, and my intuition is not just me going in and standing outside and feeling singing kumbaya and coming with the answer. It's listening to extremely valuable people like y'all 3 that as information. You know, Clint, I can't wait till Friday Spaces because I've got a fucking question for Clint, and I've got another goddamn question for Clint. Now you take over your damn show, and I'm sorry about that because it's not this show, even though I take over this show. But what I'm starved for that information, and I heard JMac, and it seemed like how many more JMacs are there?
There's a lot out there. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, and we've met them. I mean, you know, we've met them at meetups, we've met them at all the things, and it's tough right now for people to see, you know, the end game. It's very frustrating. We're going through fire right now. It really is. And I mean, and this is what happens in these market cycles. It really is. And you just have to gut your way through it and stay true to your convictions and the information that Stake puts out, the information, the questions that you ask Javier. I mean, we're all going through that, and we're looking for truth. We're looking for a better way because we know the current system. We know the way it's structured is just a complete fraud. I mean, it's a complete illusion. It's a complete control system. I'm going to say it's a vampire casino. Why are we playing in it? So we're looking for an option. We're looking for a way out of it to protect our wealth, to protect our energy, to put it into something that has value, real value, that's outside of the manipulative control. And so by asking these questions, you know, it is important because, you know, hey, you know, I'm going to work. I'm paying for my kids' stuff, you know, and I want them to have a better future. I want them to have a leg up, even though we're in a deteriorating empire, you know, here in the United States. I mean, this corporation's failing. I mean, it's in its death throes. So what's the next path to put them on so that they have something to where, I mean, here just real quick. I got this. I read this today. This is Wyoming. You know, anybody that knows Wyoming, they're like, Wyoming, that's a pretty free place. You know, wide open spaces. Even though Jackson Hole's there, and you got all the, you know, the people that go there and make decisions. But here's one here. A headline on Zero Hedge. A Wyoming mayor says third world stuff happening in city overrun with homeless people. I mean, this is the desperation that we're experiencing right now in the United States. Greatest country in the world. Everybody wants to come here. But just I'll read a few quotes. A city in Wyoming has been overwhelmed with a growing number of homeless people who have damaged a local hotel that would require millions of dollars to fix it and left hundreds of pounds of human feces in the downtown area, according to the mayor. This is a city of 60,000 people. That's it. They destroyed everything. It's like nothing I've ever seen. It's third world country stuff happening in Casper, Wyoming. It's uninhabitable. It was unsafe. In desperate times, people do desperate things. And unfortunately, we're the ones left having to deal with it. We don't want to be in that situation in America, but we're seeing it in the cities. We're seeing it in the big cities. We're seeing it in small cities. We're seeing it all over the place. And what that desperation spawns from is an unsound monetary policy. It's that, you know, there's malinvestment everywhere. What did we say earlier in the broadcast? I mean, you know, $1.8 trillion since they raised the debt ceiling has been created in the last few months. Okay, so they got 2.2 trillion more to go before they hit the ceiling again. The government's going to shut down this month if we don't, you know, fund it somehow, which makes no sense. We have to have a continuing resolution. We need more money. See, they're going to keep printing and printing and printing, and then you're seeing what happens when we do that. Okay, so that's why we're like, okay, we don't like this. We don't want to do this. We want to get to a better system. We want to put our energy, our investment, our wealth, everything that we create into something that's not going to just completely go to shit like Casper, Wyoming. You know what I mean? Or San Francisco or Chicago or all these other places. And so that's why it's so important that we have the discussion. That's why we're having these questions. That's why we're so passionate, because we don't want to leave the world even worse than the way it is now. And so there are tools out there, and we want to make sure they work. And we don't want somebody hijacking them. We don't want somebody taking it into a direction that's like, wait a minute, that's not what we thought it was. You know, I put my energy into this battery and this thing leaks. You know, I don't want that. You know, I want something solid. I want something that's going to last, that's going to be there for the future, that's going to be better. I want something truthful, something honest. And that's why we're in this space. I mean, it really is. And so, you know, I'm venting a little bit, but this is the reality of it. And you've got to at some point step out of it and say, all right, it might be a risk, but I'll tell you what, it's a much better risk than saying, oh, hey, take care of my pension. Take care of me. You know,
very,
fix
very good
for me. You know, no, at the end of it, if we all become very wealthy, whatever it is, and we make it, I look at it as let's restore the constitutional republic that we have, you know, because we don't have it anymore. Let's get back to that point to where we're actually doing things for the people and the government works for the people. And, you know, if it takes a lot of cleaning house, well, it takes a lot of cleaning house, but it puts you in a better position where you can do that. But, you know, coming at it from a moral standpoint, I think is the most important thing. And we're just looking for moral investments, moral coins, moral money, moral everything, moral people involved with that money. So that's why we're hashing it out. That's why we're having this conversation.
Very, very well said, Clint. And you know what? You ought to be a preacher or something. Anyway, by the way, brother. I just want to state I'm not angry. This is who I am. I'm a very passionate person.
Very passionate.
Anybody that knows me knows that I ask questions. I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings. Do I have a lot of couth to it? No, I don't. I'm sorry if I offend people, and I'm sorry if I'm very abrupt, but the more passion I get into it, the more I want.
You care. I mean,
yes.
You want
and so
things to be
this
better.
isn't an anger thing towards Digibyte or anybody in the community. It's oh my God, it's 2 hours already. We got to get off, and I could ask questions 24 hours. If we ever do a marathon, you're going to go, God damn, Javier lost his voice or he passed out drunk.
Well, in 2025, we'll have this conversation, and Javier is going to have a different tune. He's going to feel a lot better about this. We'll just say that.
Chasing mermaids.
Yeah, chasing mermaids. Be chasing you.
Yeah.
You better start learning how to swim.
I
Get
got
your
short
slippers
legs.
on.
I got longer legs. I can go for it. I ain't going to be good swimming.
Yeah. No. Search for truth.
All right, guys. Closing words.
Closing words. Closing
2
words.
hours,
Have
4
fun.
minutes.
Have fun.
Thank you,
Enjoy
Steak.
the
That's a
ride.
good. That's a good. I wasn't going to say
Enjoy it.
anything, but that's
Enjoy the
good.
ride. I mean, come on,
I
man.
am.
We're at the
No, and I
forefront.
do. I do. I
Oh,
just do get
I thought
passionate
I had a
about it. I look
closing
forward to it.
statement. Javier,
The door closed.
feel free to close my
Mute
statement.
me.
No, that's all right, man. Feel free. Go ahead. You.
No, I'm going to mute myself and keep talking just because I like the way I hear. I like the way I sound to myself, maybe. No, I'm just joking, but go ahead. Sorry, I'm going to mute myself because I can't help but keep talking.
I'll make it brief. Look, we're at the forefront of a changing monetary policy, of a changing in industry that's going to a fourth industrial revolution. We're at the end of a long-term debt cycle, 90 years, 80, 90 years. We're at the changing of, well, maybe a one-polar hegemony of the U.S. to a multipolar world. And we got a front seat with our investments. Will all of them land? No. Will some of them land? Yeah. Do we know which ones? No. We can make educated guesses, but the way things are now, maybe tomorrow something happens in the news and everything changes. That's how quick these things go, right? So I think it's exciting, and just that's why I say, just enjoy, be happy, enjoy, and make smart decisions, or try to. That's it. My closing statement. Have fun.
Clint?
All right, I'll take myself off mute so I can, not do this number. No, that absolutely 100% agree. We are living in a time that we've got that front row seat, as you said, Steak, to watching the transitioning into something new. And ultimately it comes down to, what are you going to do? What's your role going to be in this big movie? I mean, are you going to sit back and just take it and just continue to do the same things? Or are you going to look at something going forward and say, you know what, this might be the future? Other people are kind of taking moves. I see that they're making the moves. I see that they're looking at these things. I see that they're accumulating these things. I understand that these are weapons on the economic battlefield. It gives us an opportunity to store our wealth in something different that's not controlled by a government, that's decentralized, that we can send from peer to peer, that has technology that can be, unforeseen, that can be built on these things. Completely decentralized network, like the Bitcoin white paper said, outside of a financial institution. And that's the most important thing that I read in that Bitcoin white paper. You can transact value. You can use your energy in a system outside of what they've given you since birth, since your parents signed that birth certificate, and put it wherever it goes. You have that opportunity to where now it's like, don't live in fear. Don't think that, oh my gosh, I'm not real sure, I'm not this and that. But look at where you're at right now. Look at the alternative. The alternative is doing the same thing over and over again and driving yourself nuts, becoming insane. Look at these opportunities. Look at where the world is going. Use these things, because that's the most important thing. And if you believe in it, and if you trust yourself and you've come to believe in it, share it with other people, and just have the conversation, because that one conversation might spark something that changes their entire life, might put them on an entirely different path, completely different path, that they'll make a decision that, wow, at least I had this opportunity and that person shared that with me. My life is better because it doesn't matter. I bought it at 3 cents and now it's 0.007 or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. I have it and I understand where it's going, and I'm not afraid to be involved in that, because I know every day, every time I go to work, I'm getting robbed. Vampire casinos taking everything from me, and I'm not getting anything in return. I'm just getting abused. So quit getting abused and do something with your life. Take that step, educate yourself, and just follow your path and trust yourself and know that you're here for a reason, and fulfill that mission. Don't live a life of regret at the end of your days that I didn't do something when I could have done something. Do it. Do it right now. Now's your opportunity. Be a hero and not a zero is basically what it comes down to. You got to trust yourself and do the right thing. That's it.
All right, guys. Well, yet again, another good show. A lot of good conversation, a lot of good discussion here. And I guess my closing statement would be, deep thought. How do you get a job without experience? And how do you get experience without a job? So if we were to look at crypto, Digibyte, as decentralized, how can we better decentralize it other than getting other people involved and getting the information out there? So by a more diverse group of people sharing information, I think is the future for Digibyte. That is my goal. Because for all of us to just stockpile a shit ton of Digibyte and then no one else knows about it, what's the purpose in that? So decentralization, that is my goal. Anyway, want to thank all of you for showing up. I want to thank the audience for tuning in and listening, and go out there, go make it a day, get involved. Love you all. Later.